This is the first edition of Grapaldus, de Partibus aedium. It's printed in Parma, Italy in 1494. It's a rare and important book, and we can look at the contents of it later, but I'd like to show you the binding first, because this is a very standard 15th century binding, rather old-fashioned in that this was the style used for medieval manuscripts, which ran through into the modern era, into the era of the printed book. It's a simple calf binding, the half calf backing beech boards here. Now there's a label on the spine that possibly wasn't there in the first place. It's perhaps a later edition, but quite early. And the book itself would be fastened with clasps and catches. These are made of leather, so they've actually worn away. The inside of the book is unlined. There's no paste downs or anything fancy like that. It's just the plain wood, and you can see here the leather wrapping round at top and bottom. So it's nice to have it in its first binding. But this is a rare and important book anyway. It's a book about the parts of the house. It's a book about how to manage the ideal household. And in doing so, the book is organized in ways that anticipate the modern encyclopedia and indeed the dictionary. You'll see here the book is laid out with the terms discussed printed in the side notes here. In a modern dictionary, those would be dictionary headings, but they allow us to see all sorts of things about the 15th century house and the way it was organized. And some of that material is printed for the first time and has huge historical significance. So, for example, there's a section on keeping household accounts. There's a section here on an aviary. There's a section on the library, of course. All good houses have a library. And this is so detailed that it includes descriptions of paper making, and Italian paper making in the 15th century was really state of the art. It's been owned, a contemporary owner has added some manuscript marginalia here. You can see it by the printed side notes. He's added his own notes. There are quite a lot of them. They're written in an old sort of gore ink, which has now faded somewhat, but there they are in an early humanist hand. Now there are a few small condition issues with the book. Essentially what has happened is at some stage the book has got wet at the foot, and I can show you some of the staining which goes through the book throughout. It's fairly pale staining, but that's also affected the outer parts of the book. You'll see here that the wood just at the bottom corners of the binding has been restored, and also the paper here just to the first couple of leaves. This paper here, perhaps you can't see it on camera, but it's very well restored paper. And again, at the end of the book, it doesn't affect the text. So, and here at the end of the book, we see the printer's device, a nice bold printer's device. There's no date in this book, but we know it's printed in Parma in 1494. So a very pleasing book. It's a rare book. The last copy in commerce that we're aware of is the Sexton copy that came to auction in 1981, which was in a later binding and had a number of condition problems. So it's very pleasing to get this copy in this 15th century binding. For more information on this book and many others, please visit our website.